With the race for president wrapped up, Donald Trump now turns to the business of becoming president. He's promised a major overhaul of the federal government and policy from day one. The list of what Trump promised on the campaign trail includes mass deportations of millions of undocumented immigrants, closing the southern border with Mexico, ending birthright citizenship. The president-elect has long said he'll implement tariffs on all foreign goods, cut trillions in government spending, and eliminate entire departments while cutting regulations across the board. He's also threatened to again withhold funding from so-called sanctuary states like Illinois. Governor J.B. Pritzker said he's already prepared for what's to come.
Over the years ahead, we'll do more than just protect against the possible reversion to an agenda that threatens to take us backward. We will continue to advance a positive, productive, and inclusive agenda of our own.
Pritzker also says much of the federal funding Illinois gets comes from nonpartisan grants, and he insists it would be illegal for the Trump administration to stop them. Trump is slated to come into office next year. With Republican rule in the U.S. Senate, Republicans have already flipped enough seats to take a 53-member majority with just one race the AP has not called. That's in Arizona. GOP leaders are confident they'll keep control of the House as well. Still about 20 races left to be called, but Republicans just 5 seats away from getting a slim majority in that chamber. We'll see what happens. Illinois Congressman and Democrat Mike Quigley was reelected to the House last week, joining us this morning to talk about what's next on Capitol Hill. Congressman, congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you.
What did the Democrats miss in the messaging, given the strength that Trump showed even here in Illinois?
Look, it's back to it's the economy, stupid. The thing we learned long time ago. President Biden was at a 58% unfavorable rating when it comes to the economy. It's hard to overcome that.
There's an emerging narrative from some Democrats who are upset with party leaders. It's Harris's fault. It's Biden's fault. They're doing the finger pointing. But they spent more than a year saying Trump was a threat to democracy as we know it. What is the right approach for the Democrats as this transition gets underway?
Look, there's no crying in baseball or politics. You get up and get your work done. I talked to the governor, Governor Pritzker, on Friday. We're on the same page to defend Illinois and defend all the rights of everyone in Illinois. And you get up the next day and move toward that end.
There is crying for the Cubs, but we'll talk about that some other time. I think most people will expect Trump to do away with the executive order signed by Biden. He'll do that immediately and sign his own on day one. Immigration, Stephen Miller has said we're going to start deporting on day one. What do you expect to happen on, if not day one, the first 100 days?
Yeah, look, the fact of the matter is we don't know who's going to control the House yet. It's probably a tough road for us to become in the majority, but it's still going to be within 2 to 3 votes. We heard all these things that the Trump administration was going to do in their first 2 years. Unfortunately, they accomplished some of it, but it's going to be tough for them to be just overwhelming on so many of these things. And we're going to resist it every time. If they accomplish what they're talking about and do mass deportation, do these tariffs, they are going to throw our economy into a recession. They better wade very slowly into that and understand what the ramifications are going to be.
Let me look at some global issues. Ukraine is very important to you, I know, and you've been there several times. Do you expect Trump, who said he'll have this situation settled in 24 hours, even before he takes the oath of office, but given his relationship with Putin, how much in trouble is Zelensky and Ukraine?
I was there just days before this election. For the 4th time since the war started, they're very much afraid, but all our allies are. I met with our Polish allies and all those in NATO and Eastern Europe. They recognize that if Ukraine falls, so goes Eastern Europe, and existentially a threat to us as well. There's no way this is over in 24 hours. Even if they were to force Ukraine into peace negotiations, security guarantees and all those other things, that would take months and months. And obviously, Putin isn't going to follow any rules.
In Israel and Gaza, Palestinian Arab protesters angry at Biden for his working with Israel, and many of them voted for Trump. But Trump's relationship with Netanyahu is very strong. In fact, he even said, apparently, he told Netanyahu, do whatever you need to do to end this. So are Palestinian sympathizers also in for bad news one day?
I think it's going to be horrible. There's real concerns with, obviously, how the war is being conducted in Gaza. And pushing back on Netanyahu was important. I mean, long term, we all want peace. Part of that comes from a 2-state solution. Netanyahu has said that he won't consider that. So Israel has an absolute right to defend itself, and we want to help do that. But Netanyahu can't have free reign.
We're now hearing that there are Democrats upset with Biden for not stepping down earlier, perhaps allowing a primary. Even Nancy Pelosi, who some would argue orchestrated some of this, now is saying Biden should have stepped down earlier. That being said, is that the right approach? Should we just talk about how this happened in terms of that kind of autopsy? Would it have made a difference?
Yeah, look, there's always hand-wringing and finger-pointing. It's not particularly productive right now. As you know, is one of the earliest took and asked President Biden to step down because all the polls were cascading down. They weren't trending down. So it would have been much, much worse. Obviously, we didn't overcome the big hurdles there. But at this point in time, you move on. We've got work to do. We have to protect our democracy.
Some people may not be remembering or may have forgotten that there's lots of federal funds right now targeted for this state. Red line modernization, O'Hare expansion, gun violence prevention, clean energy takes for electric vehicles. Pritzker said, I'm going to court to fight this funding if they try politics over this. What should we expect when it comes to Illinois' funding, which I know you work hard to get?
Well, I'm going to be the chairman of the committee that funds transportation and housing. I'll be the ranking dim. So I'm going to work with Governor Pritzker to protect those. Already, we're working with the CTA to make sure they get the Red Line Extension grant completed and working with the administration here in Illinois, making sure all those grants are tied up. In the end, the Republicans have had a hard time governing, even in the majority. They're going to need our help. We need to use that leverage to protect Illinois and all those resources we need, because the challenges are there. Obviously, with COVID money running out, our transit agencies face a fiscal cliff. We need to maintain that and provide them the resources to keep the agencies going.
As lawyers, it's been reported that Trump actually wants to shift what is independent Department of Justice under the executive branch and under his control. He talked about the weaponization under the Biden administration. As lawyers, we would both say that didn't happen. But that being said, are you concerned about the executive branch looking over DOJ?
I'm worried about the rule of law. I'm worried about the politicization of that. I'm worried about his appointments to the CIA and the FBI. When an autocrat tells you they're going to be an autocrat, you ought to believe him. And when he talks about retribution and going after people and weaponizing these government agencies, you ought to be concerned. It wasn't a message that seemed to resonate during the election. We need to battle him to the end on that matter now.
Who's the leader of the Democratic Party right now? Is it Hakeem Jeffries? It's not Kamala Harris. It's not Biden.
I suppose it's yet to be seen. I mean, we've got to let the dust settle and let these things move forward. Obviously, in the House, it's going to be Hakeem. He's going to be our leader.
But as far as the party?
Yeah, overall, okay. I still think it's probably Kamala Harris, the vice president.
Okay. Congressman Mike Quigley, congratulations again on your victory, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time always.
Sure.
Coming up next on WGN-TV Political Report.
Billionaires spend a lot of money to get 3 out of 21.
The fight for the future of Chicago Public Schools, why today's historic election won't change who's in power for now. And later, Mayor Brandon Johnson's budget battle begins inside the backlash that could end his quest for a property tax hike as soon as this week. Don't go anywhere.